Welcome to the Light Up podcast. I am your host, Amy Wilkinson. I'm an intuitive guide and soul mentor, and through this podcast, you will receive conscious conversations, powerful downloads, and soul-stirring activations that will both support and inspire you to tap into your intuition, follow that higher calling, and live a life aligned with your soul. Because you are here to co-create a life rich in abundance, freedom, and deep joy, and to unleash who you truly came here to be. And we're here to help you discover how to access that. So let's dive on in and light up. Welcome back to the Light Up podcast. I'm your host, Amy. So good to be here. This is the first episode that I'm recording post-launch of this little passion project of mine. And I just want to say thank you to those of you who've tuned in so far. Lent me your ears. I've been receiving such beautiful, loving, kind, encouraging feedback from those of you that have dropped in to an epi or two or five. I just want to express my gratitude, particularly to those of you who've reached out and shared. It means the world to me. You never know when you're putting anything like this out there. You really never know how it's going to go and how it's going to be received. And I've been in a really clear place of non-attachment, but just knowing, that this needs to get out there in some way. And that knowing comes from the nudges that I've been receiving from my guides over the past 6 months. Anytime I've really, tuned into what am I doing today or what am I wanting to focus on, it's just been podcast. So, I don't know why that is. I just go with the guidance and bring it through. And on that same thread, I know some people will have like podcast that drops on a Monday or a Wednesday or a Friday, whatever. I work in a more fluid way. I'm an intuitive, so I go with what's coming through the channel. I don't do a lot of planning with these sessions. I'll tune in. I'll feel the nudge to do one like I did this morning. And then I'll tune in, okay, what wants to come through? What's feeling alive? What's in the field that wants to come through? So that's how I work. And then, so I'm not able to tell you whether this is going to be a once a week kind of thing. It will be at least once a week. There's going to be episodes from me, and there's going to certainly be some interviews that I'm doing. I'm doing the first one later on this week with a special guest who I can't wait to share with you. So keep an eye out. Make sure you hit the follow button or the notification bell so that you're informed when new episodes drop. All right, so that's that little bit. I want to dive right into this now with what came through this morning. And, I had this sentence that came through when I tuned in. So I open up the channel, I tune into my guides. This is how I work, how I've worked for a very long time. And the words that I got were, "You are not doing this alone," what wanted to come through. So when we think that it's just us doing it alone on this journey, on this path, needing to make shit happen, basically, we are not allowing ourselves to be and to experience the truth of who we are, okay? We are honing in on our humanness, and we're denying ourselves the fullness of our beingness and our capacity as spiritual beings, which, by the way, and unapologetically, I will be saying this many times, so if you're in my world, I'll rant it. We are first and foremost spiritual beings. Resist it or not, we are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. All right, so the question I want to ask you then is, do you move through your day in that knowing, in that remembrance, or in the delusion? The delusion takes us into a place where we feel like we have to figure it all out, do it alone, make shit happen. That's when we forget. And then we're forgetting our power, our innate power as expansive, unlimited, and connected soul who has access to so much more than we allow ourselves to believe when we're coming from that place of thinking that we need to make it happen, figure it out, do it alone. It's like I get this image of pushing shit uphill. It's hard. It's hard, and we make it hard. And we're married to this idea that it needs to be hard. And I would just really want to encourage you as much as you can to start to contemplate, start to explore a whole nother reality, right? Because otherwise you're forgetting that we are part of the one. As my amazing coach and mentor said, I think it was passed on from one of her teachers, we are someone because we're some of the one. We are a masterpiece because we're a piece of the master. We are waves of the same ocean of consciousness. We are a ray of the one sun. I've been preaching on this for many years, by the way, through my yoga background and through the teachings and the trainings that I've held space with over the years. Okay, we know this. We remember this. Yoga is union, where we reunite to the truth of who we are. And when we do this, we come back into this place of remembrance that we are so much more than our mind. We're so much more than our body. We're so much more than our to-do list. Okay? So we didn't come here to figure things out. That is so exhausting. It's limiting. And quite frankly, it's incredibly low vibe. Right? So this language that I hear so often, I hear this so much from clients, students, from those in my community. I just have to figure this out. I've got to work this out. I need to make this happen. We're caught up in this mental 3D construct that we need to use our mind and from this place of logic, and we need to sort it, work it, make it happen. Okay? And it's as if doing that thing, working it out, figuring it out, making it happen is the benchmark or the requirement for them to feel a certain level of satisfaction or happiness or completeness. Okay? When we align with that thought process, we're outsourcing our happiness to some future date, to some time in the future. Once we achieve all of this, some point down the track, when I've figured out X, Y, and Z, and when I've made X, Y, and Z happen. Like this. When I get that job, I'll feel secure and safe. When I take that holiday, I'll be able to relax and let go and feel peaceful. As soon as I finish that project, I'll feel good. Okay? This is the language that is circulating so much in our society. Too much. Right? We are projecting and we are outsourcing this feeling of wholeness and completeness at some future date, so long as this occurs. So you know what? When we operate from that paradigm and when we outsource our wholeness in this way, guess what happens? That time, that point in time will never come. Let that sink in for a moment. Sure, we'll meet momentary gratification until our ego drops in for the next thing that we need to do or achieve or acquire. Right? It's kind of like, when I get that new car, I'll feel really good. But then after we've got the new car, oh, hang on a second, I need this. I want this other thing, this other shiny object. And we're just so externalizing our fulfillment based on the acquiring of something that is outside of ourself. Okay? When we do this, we're on this bloody never-ending hamster wheel of life that is going to keep perpetuating our lack and our limitation. And this is so exhausting. Okay, we'll never reach that point. It'll always be somewhere in the future. And we know all of those things don't bring us that real fulfillment. So we need to be able to start to set this way of operating down. Set it down. Okay, because all power, all pleasure, all fulfillment can only exist can only be experienced in the now moment, in the present moment. It doesn't exist in the future. When we experience happiness, when we really tap into that place where we feel peaceful and we feel happiness, where does it occur? Does it occur back in the past? Does it occur out in the future? Or does it occur right in this now moment? That is the only way that we can access our happiness, is to drop into the now moment. Okay, so when it comes to consciously co-creating our life, this is the work that I'm so invested in, that we can all play a role in. It's the work that I help my clients amplify in their life. We can only do that from the now moment. So we have to be able to start to reverse engineer this entire place. We need to bust out of this old, funky and clunky, outdated paradigm that's led us to believe that we have to hustle. And that if we don't hustle, we can't really achieve our goals and we can't really make shit happen, because who else is going to do it if I don't do it? Right? Or that we have to figure it out. And we get so caught up in our mind that it's really quite debilitating. Okay, we all have access to a new reality and a new way of operating. Okay, by starting to remember first and foremost who we are. Because nothing outside of you, no thing, no one, no circumstance has the answers for you. Nothing outside of you holds the key to your happiness. Only you can cultivate that, because all of those things, all of those feelings, that happiness that we seek, that fulfillment, that peace, it's all an inside job. It all comes from within. Okay? So this is what we have to remember, is who we are, and we need to stop forgetting our power and the innate power that lies in our energy. Remember, we create from our energy. We make things happen from our energy, which isn't a doing. It's a being. It's being who we are, remembering who we are. Change your energy, change your life. And all of that exists in the present moment, when we meet the present moment. So what if we begin to reframe, and instead of delaying those feelings, we start to connect with those emotions and those feeling states that we desire to experience right now, because we have access to all of that right now in the present moment. Not some point in the future that's never really going to become, because we're resisting the present moment. We spend so much of our precious energy hooked into worry, and it's so debilitating. And we spend so much of our precious resources worrying. And all the worry comes from focus and over-identification with the past, with what's been, which quite frankly is only going to drain your energy. It's done. Past is done, right? What if you let that go? Or we worry about a potential future, and I'm really emphasizing this word potential, right? Fear or worry that something may or could possibly happen at some point in the future. May never happen. Right? So let's come back to this example of when I finally take the trip, I'll be happy and I'll be able to relax, which firstly is a lie. Because wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go. Have you experienced this? You've waited for that holiday and for that trip or for that move somewhere else. And if you're coming from the place of when I do that, when I take that trip, when I get that holiday, I'll be able to relax and happy, right? And then you realize that wherever you go, there you are, right? Wherever you go, you're still there. You've still got those same things that you're focusing on circulating through your mind. You're still feeling those same old feelings of not feeling quite fulfilled. those things might still be circulating. So if you think the trip is going to make you happy, maybe it will for a bit, but we're going to have those same things coming up if that's the place we're coming from, okay? So that's fleeting. Those emotions, again, they don't come from outside of ourselves. It's not something that is gifted to us. We cultivate it because that is who we are. Remember, we are a soul. When we're tapped into our soul, we realize that all of the things that we're seeking, the happiness, the freedom, the fulfillment, the abundant, we are already that. We are that right now in this present moment. We just need to come back home to ourselves and remember and allow ourselves to feel that, to access those emotions from within. So why wait until a time in the future to cultivate and nurture those feelings and give them life? What would it look like if you chose to prioritize those feelings now? Okay, and if you're sitting there going, well, it's easy for you to say, I don't know how to feel that right now, then you can start with baby steps. Like, what are the things in your life that bring you or that help you to tap into those feelings? What are the practices? Is it going for a walk in nature? Is it taking a moment to sit and breathe? Is it putting the screen away and being present to whatever is coming up in you? Is it a meditation practice? And if you really want to activate these states within you, then I highly suggest cultivating some kind of mindfulness or meditation or yoga practice that brings you home. Because we live in a world right now where we are bombarded. Our senses are so dynamically bombarded with information, with projection, with so much externalized. Our senses are just completely activated so much of the time, this externalization. So, what we find that we need to do is create a level of discipline where we can put down those things and where we can really nurture our internal landscape and nurture our internal environment. Can you be in the void, in the stillness, without all of the distractions? Can you just sit in the silence and let that be your teacher? This is how we start to come back home to those natural inherent states that are in our beingness, that are in our soul. Okay? So back to this idea that we need to figure all of this out, because I feel like we have so much of this languaging circulating. I hear this so much. So I set this down many years ago when I really started to embrace and live the reality that I am not here alone. Okay, when we feel like we need to figure this out and do it alone, we are limiting our capacity. We're forgetting that we are a spiritual being. My spirit, first and foremost, is expansive and wise and knows what I don't know with my limited perception. Okay, so if you figure, if I was to draw this in a diagram, if you're visual, big circle. Let this big circle represent our spirit or our soul or whatever you want to call it. Is that part of the one, consciousness, that sunbeam from the sun of life, right? God, spirit, whatever you connect with. So if we've got this circle that represents that, there's a dot. Put a dot in the middle of that circle. And this represents, I'm going to say LS, our limited self with a small self that we hook into and think that's who we are, right? And that's what happens when we think we need to figure this all out or we need to make shit happen. We are just relying on that dot, and we are forgetting the huge energy that is around that dot. The energy that represents, the circle that represents who we truly are. And here's the thing. So you have this remembrance of you being a soul, but not only that, you have a team assigned to support you in this lifetime that is just for you. You might refer to this as your guides, your angels, your guardian angel, right? We are assigned a team, at least one. Most people have 1 to say 4 guides in the spirit realm that are assigned to you before you come into this world, before you birth, before you incarnate. And they're with you all along. But the thing about this is most people's guides and teams are really underutilized. There's a redundancy that's happening here because we're forgetting that we have access to these amazing beings of light, these wise beings of light, your team, your guides, your peeps, whatever you want to call them, they're with you. And the important thing to realize here is they need your permission. They need you to ask for their assistance. But by gosh, if you ask and you remember and you utilize this incredible resource that we all have access to, you will feel more supported in your life than you ever have before. And this is why, on this manifestation journey, I know that I don't need to work it out. I don't need to figure out the how. All of that is not my business. All that I need is a clear intention of what I desire to create in my life. And then I wait for the signs, the synchronicities, the doors to open, the nudges and the messages for me to take aligned and inspired action that's going to take me one step closer to that desired reality or to that dream. And I cannot imagine not operating in that way. And this is why I speak. This is why I do the work that I do, because too many of us are not utilizing this free resource that is designed, this brilliant system that's designed to help us on our path, to guide us and to support us. So please get in touch with someone that can help you if you are not tapping in to this divine channel of wisdom and of guidance. Because I tell you what, you can let go of so much of the luggage, so much of the heavy weights that we carry around in our backpack if we're thinking that we are not alone and then we have to figure it out. Oh, and it feels so good to set that down and to let go and to surrender and to know that what's for you will find you, and that having a clear intention, letting yourself tap into your desires, and then asking for support and assistance from your guides. By gosh, it's just such a divine way to move through life where you will feel so free and so supported. I'm going to be talking more about this in the coming episodes. I'm an intuitive guide, so work that I do is helping people to tap into that channel, connecting them with their guides or helping them to remember who their guides are, bringing in more of the guidance that comes from their angels and from archangels. Because their mission, the reason that they are here, is to support us in navigating this path. And it can be a really harsh world. And it is a harsh world in many ways. But when you can tap into your bigger why, and allow yourself to access a bigger, grander vision for yourself, and then move in alignment with soul, where you feel tuned in, tapped into your guidance system. It's a really beautiful way to navigate through life, and you're going to find much more ease and much more flow. Okay, I feel that that's all for today. It's a little bit to digest and to let land into your cells, but if this speaks to you, if there's a resonance, it's just affirming what you already know to be true in your beingness, and that's alignment. So I really hope this helps, and I would love to hear it. If you could be so kind, if this resonates with you, let me know, or write a review. It means the world to me. Okay, I'm going to be back later on in the week with my special guest. I love you guys. Stay light, and we'll see you soon. Much love.